Hello everybody. So this is going to be the first official upload specifically for the YouTube channel. The first 4 videos on my channel were uploaded to Facebook and Instagram first, and then after they were on there for a while, I decided, I probably should throw these on YouTube just because that's where I watch a majority of my knife content. And I figured I would just come on here today, and I feel like a good foot forward into the christening of doing YouTube specific videos. I would show off one of my favorite pocket knives that I've carried for the last year or so. This is going to also be reminiscent of one of my favorite knife YouTubers. So I'm a knife giver when it comes to gifts for Christmas and such. And last year for Christmas, I got both of my brothers and my dad Leathermans for Christmas. I got my 2 brothers the Super Tool 300 and my dad the Skeletool CX. And my brother's getting the Super Tool 300 was actually the reason why I wanted one so badly, and I purchased one recently that I did the video on. I kept those knives on me for a couple of months before I wrapped them and gave them to him. So I would look at them all the time and be like, I really, really want that. Well, anyway, my younger brother wanted to get me a knife for Christmas as well. So he asked me for ones within a certain price range, and he settled on a knife that I have been extremely happy with over the last year or so, and that is the Civivi Yonder. The Civivi Yonder was designed by a gentleman by the name of Zach Whitmore. He has a YouTube channel called Zach in the Wild. He has done countless projects with many different knife brands and knife promotional companies such as Blade HQ and things of that nature. And this knife was birthed at a cabin in Montana when a friend of his who works at NAFS essentially held him hostage to design a knife after they had been talking about it for a few years. There's a fun story on Zach's YouTube channel about the origins of this knife. And I've been carrying it almost every day ever since I got it for Christmas last year. This knife comes in a couple of different iterations. I've got the one with the Micarta handles and the black coated blade, but there's also another one that comes with a Damascus blade that looks really, really cool. And that one has wood handles, and then there's one with black G10 handles and just a plain silver blade. But let's get into what makes this knife so cool. So right off the bat, we've got a 6.62 inch overall length with a 2.88 inch blade. I'm a buck guy, so in buck sizing terms, I would say this is very similar to a buck 112 with just a little bit of a shorter handle. The blade shape is a little different than a buck though. It's got a spay point, which is kind of reminiscent of what you would see on a Benchmade 940, which is a knife that I hopefully will own one day. But this shape very much reminds me of a 940, just with a little bit more belly, and it's obviously not as long. But very functional shape for both choking up on the knife, so that way you could do finer, more detailed work, or if you're doing food prep, you've got a nice little curve right here with some belly, so that way you can go through and prep food fairly easily. I've done all of those things with this knife, including cordage, cutting cordage and making feather sticks and just carving wood in general. This knife does it just fine because it's got a nice high flat grind on it. So very slicey, very, very slicey. And it's also got a little bit more strength because of it being a high flat grind versus a hollow grind. So a little bit more strength there. And it's also made of 14C28N steel. So it behaves very similar to 420 high carbon when it comes to toughness, but you're gonna have a little bit more edge retention on this guy than what you would have with a standard 420 steel. It's also got one of the highly coveted crossbar locks, which was also, I believe, introduced by Benchmade. But eventually the patent ran out, so people could use, I think they call it the access lock, but Civivi calls it the crossbar lock. I really enjoy the crossbar lock for a couple of reasons. One, it's the first truly ambidextrous lock for both sides of the knife. All you have to do is just grab this little bead right here and just pull it back, and it's got some really smooth action that just allows the blade to fall right back in, and really feels nice. And the other thing about this type of lock is it's extremely durable. Because of the design, you would have to essentially break a majority of the knife handle in order for the lock to not function. So very stout knife in a very small package. It's not like overbuilt, but it's got very tough materials with like the 14C28N and the Micarta handle. So it can definitely do more than, I would say, the mid-range knives of its size because of its materials. So very much enjoy this. I also really like the emblem that Zach put on there to symbolize that it's his knife. Super great knife. Really enjoy it. Fantastic gift from my younger brother, as you can tell by how much the pocket clip is wearing out. I wear this one quite a bit, and I love micarta because it's kind of a living organism in a way. So the more you carry it in your pocket, the more it just kind of patinas to whatever you do with it. And you can definitely tell the discoloration is coming in a little bit on both sides, especially the side that rubs against my leg. So, and I like how fast the action is because of the axis lock and just how smooth this knife operates. It's very fidgety. So if you're like a fidget knife person, this one's really nice. I've also really enjoyed taking it and grabbing it by the blade. I don't recommend this, but if you're more experienced, probably you'll be fine. But I like just grabbing the knife of like the blade itself and just flicking it down like that. That was a bad example because my pinky got in the way, but something like that, and then you just hold it and you just do fine detailed work with that little ramp right here. So yeah, and the way that the tip is oriented, it's very straightforward. So it's very, you can really puncture with a tip this shape. So I also appreciate that. I've used this thing for everything, like I said, from plastic to cordage to prepping food to working with wood, like everything with this guy. So Zach, I don't know if you're going to watch this video, but Zach, fantastic knife. I look forward to the new iterations that are going to be coming out of this knife, because this knife was so successful in the year 2025 that we're getting a couple of different variances, one of which being the Over Yonder, which is a bigger version, which I'll probably pick that one up because I've got big old meat paws. And this has a very small handle, but even with my, I would say probably large to extra large, favoring extra large sized hands, it's a little small in the hand, but you've got this thumb ramp because of the way the handle is shaped that your pinky can just sit on. So it almost feels like a 3-finger grip, but not really, because your pinky is still sitting pretty comfortably on that ramp right there. And I have no problem with small knives. It's just being able to have more of a hand-filling grip would be nice with something like this. So the Over Yonder will definitely be for me when it comes out, and I'll probably get it in this same finish with the micarta and such because I really like this. So Zach, keep up the good work. This design is pretty great for just casual stuff and like just regular EDC purposes. I love it, and I love it even more that it was a gift from my brother. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick video on the Civivi Yonder. This is going to be a little bit shorter than my normal videos because I'm not talking about multiple things, but I've got a lot of really cool knives, both old and new, that I haven't talked about yet that I think you guys will enjoy for all different types of things. Like I've got cheap knives, I've got American made knives that were super expensive, like stuff that I've collected since I was a kid. Eventually I'll get to bringing all of those out and showing you guys like a majority of the collection because it's pretty interesting. I've got stuff that my parents like found like in Belize when they were on a cruise. I've got a lot of really interesting stuff. But all right, well, that's it. Just wanted to do a quick video on the Civivi Yonder just to kind of do a little bit of appreciation on it, because I think it's a knife that's going to age really well in the knife community, or Zach is going to come out with another design that just kind of revolutionizes this. That's the vibe that I'm getting. So yeah, hope everybody's having a good day, and I will catch you guys soon on the next one.